until then, let's go to the NFL and talk about Micah Parsons. His podcast, he had it all season long. And he's had some interesting things. Was it yesterday? I guess it was yesterday. He had DeAndre Swift on with him, but he also did a solo bit, which is what we're going to hear. But here's Micah talking about some of the things going on with the Cowboys and their disappointing season. I'm going to let Rob G introduce it and summarize stuff. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, so he said a lot, and depending on your perspective, Micah may or may not have thrown the Cowboys front office, the Cowboys coaching staff, and his own teammates under the bus. So first off, Jerry Jones made headlines when he said they're going to go all in on 2024. Well, Micah had some thoughts on that. Take a listen.
We're going all in this year, man. That's what I would hope for. I'm 24 years old. I've been in this league, 3 years, and I kind of seen it all. And I hope that we go all in. I hope that we go out and get the players that we're missing because we didn't do that this year. I hope that we challenge ourselves to become better and become greater for us.
So the Cowboys, who had 9 All-Pros, apparently are still missing some talent on that roster. It's all right, Micah.
Yeah, here's the problem. He was saying all year that they have enough. A few times before the season, as they were entering the playoffs, he was telling Cowboy Nation, get ready for the Super Bowl parade, right? He said that. We get ready for the Super Bowl. All right, after the Niners whipped them by 32 points even, he said, I think we on their level. Like, he talked like they had enough. And I get it. Maybe you say, well, he saw they didn't. Okay. But he was talking all year long about they had enough. And like you said, Rob G, 9 Pro Bowlers. It looks like you had enough, and y'all just didn't
all pros,
show up.
not just
9
Pro
All Pros.
All
That's
pros.
bigger than Pro Bowlers, obviously.
So, but he said a lot. He had a long podcast, and then he's responding to some of the critics were saying, hey, you guys got gashed in the run game against Green Bay. Aaron Jones ran roughshod. Why didn't you move over to linebacker and help stuff the run game? Well, Micah had an answer for that one, too. Take a listen.
At the end of the day, we were just outperformed, out-schemed. They had an answer for everything. People saying, well, why ain't you go to linebacker? Because they said you could stop the run. Well, guess what? The packages are in for me to go to linebacker. There's multiple packages, multiple variations. But I can only play what it's called. Whatever they're calling, whoever personnel they're putting on, I'm not putting out personnel. I'm not putting out the calls. Nothing's coming from me. I do see a Super Bowl in my future. I want to be a Super Bowl champion. I challenge anyone to actually go look at the game film and say, did Micah play his heart out? To go out like that at home was completely embarrassing and unacceptable. It took me a while to even be able to show my face in the public.
Well, look, I think we all would believe he played his heart out, but he didn't play particularly well.
Thank you, Chris.
Right? I mean, I don't think anybody's questioning, did you try? They're questioning, why weren't you effective? You're one of the best defensive players in the league, Rob. I think he had 1 tackle. Yeah, he had 2 tackles that game, 1 solo tackle. 1 QB hit. This is Micah Parsons.
Well, Chris, it's funny you say that because Micah Parsons, as he's been wanting to do, decided, hey, I'm going to weigh in on my own performance, right? And obviously it was an embarrassing defensive showing by the Cowboys. He didn't play particularly well. But if you ask him, Micah Parsons wasn't the problem.
I'm at complete peace, and I say that because I don't think I could have done anything more to try to win that game. And that comes to watching film with the other guys in the room, saying what I'm seeing, being vocal out there on the field. I was completely at peace because I know I don't have no regrets about how I performed or what I put into the game.
Thanks for that. That's the podcast, Chris. That's what we want for Micah Parsons. I appreciate it. I got a new name for his podcast. Turn his Micah off. Because we got nothing.
That was a pretty good one.
Chris, 290 and his analysis about himself and his team will get you on the subway because he gave me nothing. We get it. These guys, Chris, they play in the game. I have respect for them. If you want to tell me about what plays are being called and all the other stuff and the intensity and the stuff that went on, I'll buy into that. But to go to these players and think you're going to get honest analysis of them, their friends, their teammates, you're not going to get it. It is a total waste of time. Stop it. If you're going to listen to the podcast and you're going to give these guys numbers, demand that they give you something so that you can listen to it and feel that there's some worth there. There's nothing there. It's a waste of time. I get it. He could have a gazillion downloads because he's Micah Parsons and he plays for the Cowboys. I understand that. He'll have more downloads than I'll ever have, and I'm fine with that. But I'll tell you what you'll get when you listen to the Odd Couple podcast. You'll get an honest analysis of what went on. And then you can make your own judgment of what happened. It won't be one-sided and biased because they're involved. They want to play the game and report on the game. Imagine that. And then his own analysis, Chris. Oh, he played great. You played great? You lost. You were embarrassed. You should have stood up there and said, you know what? Of course I didn't play well. No team I played on would have given up 48 points at home in a playoff game. I have to play better. My teammates have to play better. And we didn't get the job done. Talking about he could sleep at night. Really? I'm so tired of hearing these clips from these podcasts. A total waste of time. All right. I'm telling you the new name of his podcast from here on out. Turn off his Micah.
Well, I like your name for it. Turn off the Micah. That's very clever and well done. I disagree, though, on the content. These dudes are unfiltered. Now, yeah, he was wrong. He played poorly. But getting his honest feel, like I think he honestly feels that way. And that tells you something, Rob. Why didn't it? A lot of players would go up there and say, you know what? I didn't get it done. I played badly. I got to play better. He didn't do that, which gives you some insight into Micah Parsons. Why didn't you just say, I didn't show up? I didn't get it done. So I disagree with you on these podcasts not having any value. Here's where I'm at on it. My issue is this. Just like I say about Jerry Jones, Rob, and you know this is not new. This is not a reaction to this season. I have been saying for years that Jerry Jones wants the spotlight. Jerry Jones wants, to make news. He wants to be on the talk shows, whether he's actually on it or he's just the topic of conversation or the Cowboys are the topic of conversation. He wants the attention more than he wants a Super Bowl. And Micah Parsons is only following in those footsteps. Micah Parsons doesn't need a podcast. What other player in the league that's that young in any league? And maybe there is somebody. I don't know of them. I'm thinking of the podcast I know of. They're either veterans who have won championships, Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce, Draymond Green, or that Paul George hasn't won a championship, but he's a veteran. All right, Kevin Durant's got the boardroom, veteran, championships. And then there are ex-players, KG, Paul Pierce, the knuckleheads, with Quentin Richardson and Darius Miles, all the smoke, Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes and all that stuff. But I don't know, and maybe I'm missing it, but I can't count too many. I can't count any that I know of where it's a guy that young, hasn't reached his full potential yet, hasn't won yet, and he's doing a podcast. And Rob, the point is, like Rob G said, he definitely threw the coaching staff under the bus.
Right. He said that it was there. Right. Oh, they have packages. They just didn't put it on. They didn't run it.
Yep. And we got out schemed. We got out prepared. I don't know if he said prepared, but we got out schemed. He definitely said that. That's the coaches. Now, I don't know if you can argue whether or not he threw his teammates under the bus, like we need to go get more. We didn't have it this year. That's debatable. But he definitely threw the coaches under the bus. I don't think he did it on purpose, but that's the danger. And, Rob, I think Jerry Jones, if Jerry Jones came out tomorrow and said next year, or even on the first day of training camp, and said next year, we are trying to do things differently. We're turning over a new leaf because we are tired of not even being the freaking bridesmaids. We are tired of underachieving. So we're going to do something new. I will not be talking to you this season. This will be the last conversation you have with me until we're being handed that NFC title trophy. If he said that, that would I believe, take some pressure off these players. It would clear the air. The culture would be different. And you could go to Micah Parsons and say, Micah, look, I'm not talking to anybody this year because it's all football. And I would like it if you didn't talk. I'm not trying to take money out of your pocket. Heck, I just paid you tens of millions of dollars. But this year, man, let's focus on the football. Once we win that ring, then do all the podcasts you want. He could do that. He can't do that now. You running your mouth after every game, upstaging your coach. You on the radio show locally every Tuesday. So that's my issue with the podcast. Not that he's saying whatever, what the content, but he puts his foot in his mouth too much because he's a young guy. I would have put my foot in my mouth at that age. And so I think that's my issue with it, Rob.
I hear you. I'm just saying, dude, I just couldn't. And I'm different. I'm cut from a different cloth. I'm looking for content, but I'm looking for some context to it. I'm looking for an honest opinion. I don't think you could be honest, Chris, and it has nothing to do with them knowing the game or obviously they're playing in the game, but they can't be honest. They can't. Because they're compromised. They're in bed with too many people. There are too many friends and too many things. So you ginger about your comments. When you sit down on First Things First, Chris, you're not beholden to anybody.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
You know that. Am I right or wrong?
No, you're right. You're right.
Greg Jennings, we had Greg Jennings on, and I said this to you before, and I'm not going after anybody. There's a lot of guys who I like in this business. But your show right now is the number one show on Fox FS1,
right?
And have no former athletes,
right?
That's fact, right. Chris.
Well,
that's
and the
fact.
number one sports show overall, as far as these types of shows, PTI, Michael Wilbon, Tony Kornhauser,
no former athletes. All right, and I'm not saying that there's not a place for them.
Right.
Fans don't want to hear everything's great, Chris. That's not what they want to hear.
Well, the ex-players that make it, that really get big.
That's why they hate Charles Barkley.
Right. They're ones that will tell the truth. Absolutely.
They hate Charles Barkley. Why?
No, you're right about that, Rob. They'd rather hear a writer or a reporter or, who's just going to be honest and not, wave pom-poms and hold his tongue instead of an ex-player who's just going to say, protect his friends and his coaches and, the league and all that stuff. So I do agree with you on that.